All right, and good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are doing something very, very special today. Our first candidate.
Our first candidate is Rachel Lee, a junior majoring in philosophy, politics, and law, and her running mate is Colin Colson, a sophomore majoring in writing for screen and television. Rachel, how's it going?
It's going good. The campaign is off in the races right now, and we're really trying to get grassroots support and really fight the establishment on this one. And I think we're killing it.
Colin, I don't know if you're able to hear me right now. Are you here?
I'm here, and I'm hearing you loud and clear.
All right, awesome. How's it going, man?
It's going good. We have been seeing a lot of noise being made about us, and I think we've got a good velocity going.
You know, it's interesting. You know, I'm like really excited. I've never really been a part of like a student election like this, intensely.
It's very
You know,
special this year, yeah.
It is. It is. You know, you two first started, this campaign as essentially a joke until one of the ballots dropped out and it became, as you call it, an establishment versus anti-establishment election.
Yes.
How have you navigated this shift towards taking the campaign more seriously, and why should the student body regard you as much?
Gotcha. So, in January 28th, I announced that I was running for president with Alejandro, my friend, on a single platform to allow smoking cigarettes on campus. February 7th, Ale drops out of the race for personal reasons, and then I asked Colin to be my vice president. Colin, who is my VP in running right now. February 15th, I asked Hannah and Nivea to debate on my Instagram story. And then the same night, I get an email from USG saying, come to the debate on Friday. I'm like, oh shit, we're actually going to have to talk with them. And we realized that if we're going to be a jester in the ring with the bear, we need to be armed, you know? And I think that satire can be a really good, powerful political force. And SNL at the time of the Trump campaign was making a then radical stance against him and like really just shining a light on the absurdity of politics. And we're shining a spotlight on USG. And it's clear that it's not exactly an unflattering light we're throwing at it. It's USG itself that is like very quickly being revealed as a very flawed institution. And you know the concept of the submerged state, where a governmental body is working so quietly that, the students don't realize that they're benefiting from it. It's USG isn't even a submerged state. Like, it's just not doing enough for the students. And we realize that we can also make serious points while we're on the stage and while we're on the political stage, shift the window of discussion back to issues that matter, such as the abolition of Greek life, and fighting our gentrifying footprint in South Central by reallocating DPS funds. But we also keep the spirit of like the original platform. We've since struck out the smoking cigarettes on campus bit, but we want to make the school bird a pelican, and we want the Saweetie statue. It's a big one.
And honestly, I am very fascinated with your policies here and platform. Colin, we're about to wrap up, and we only have one more minute to ask a question. So for you specifically, you and Rachel have labeled yourselves as progressive populists in this election. What makes you so sure that you stand for the people of USC and actually have their support?
Thanks. That's a good question. We're pretty sure that we represent USC because we are of the USC student body, and we are not a part of the student government as it is right now. It's the student government, as it stands, is a very insular and it's sort of just a group of people who are using student government as a resume booster, as a stepping stone to a life in their poli-sci major trajectories. And we are kind of fed up with that, so we are going to try to bring the student body and USG closer together.
Thank you so much, you two, for joining us. We really appreciate it. can folks get in touch with you?
Go to our Instagram page at Lee Colson 2022. That's LEECOLSON 2022. And we're posting on it frequently. You can explore our platform. And to vote for us, just go on the USG elections website, scroll right past Hannah and Nivea, and type in Rachel Lee and Colin Colson.
Thank you.
And that's how you submit your vote.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Our second batch of candidates of this evening are Kyle Valdez, a junior in Science and Business Administration, and Safal Menji, a junior majoring in Real Estate Development. How's it going, guys?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having us. How are you doing?
Doing great.
I can't complain. Thank you so much for being here. Just real quick, I want to ask you from the get-go, one of your major objectives for your platform is to actually increase student and campus culture through a lot of activities such as fairs, concerts, etc. If you two are elected and even go through with implementing such a goal, what makes you two so sure that the student engagement will actually increase, especially in the midst of a pandemic?
Well, I'd actually like to touch on that a little bit because LA County actually just announced that they're opening up, especially after a good 2-year period of having an online class. I remember when I was a freshman, I was actually a spring admit, and 3 months in, we were cut off due to COVID. And I think the most important thing is to have two effective leaders like Kyle and I who can increase student engagement, and we're both very energetic guys. I don't know if you saw us trying to chase Jeffrey Bezos around yesterday with the Jeffrey Bezos song, but that's like one of many ideas that we have. We're really trying to bring the students back on and just have them be implemented and actually listened to when it comes to USG.
It's something that came to mind was write-ins and the difference between a legitimate write-in or a legitimate candidate and a write-in. For someone like me who doesn't really understand what is a write-in, and like another pair in the election, you two are the write-in candidates, making it less convenient to submit a vote. What are the challenges that you guys have found of being a write-in, and how does that affect gaining widespread support throughout the campaign?
Yeah, so something that I directly experienced as when I was voting actually for us as write-in candidates is that the elections process is incredibly flawed when it comes to write-in candidates. When you're trying to write in the write-in candidates, especially when I'm writing in Kyle and me, I experienced having to write us in 3 separate times until it finally loaded. I clicked on it and it auto-selected Hannah and Nivea, and it did that twice for me. And I know that happened to me, and that happened to dozens of students, and I know that for a fact because I've talked to dozens of students who talked to me about that, and that's just one challenge of being a write-in candidate.
And another challenge is that we just have to focus on brand awareness right now, because right now the USG is handing out donuts at the polling stations, and I asked somebody, hey, who'd you vote for? He's like, oh, I voted for a donut. I have no idea who's running. I just clicked on the name in the ballot. And that's a big problem if there's only one name on the ballot. They're just going to click on that name. They'd rather click on the name than abstain because they don't know any write-in candidate's name. So that's another flaw in the system.
Wow, extremely flawed. I would actually agree with that. That is something that needs to be addressed. Now, last question. Of your guys' platform, one of the most notable things that kind of draws a lot of people's eyes is actually your stance on Greek life. Rather than abolish it altogether, you two actually want to reform it, citing punishments for those responsible and complicit in wrongdoings rather than actually blaming the entire organization. Why go through this immense labor, and how do you know it will actually change a system many deem irreparable?
Well, first off, we do not believe that is an immense labor. We believe that it's actually easier than abolishing the system as in entirety. And we also believe that it's treating Greek life equitably as every other student organization. I'm currently in a student organization. There was a sexual assault case there. It was dealt with through SJAX. The person was kicked out of the student organization. They were dealt with on the disciplinary board, and the student organization still exists. So if every single student organization was treated the same way fraternities are, then we wouldn't have a single student organization here at USC. And we also believe that this is an effective progressive method because we have talked to many people, done our primary research, and we believe that having such a punishment system relieves the pressure of brothers and victims from reporting the cases so that they don't feel as if they're the ones who took down an entire fraternity. Rather, we're focusing on individualistic basis where people can feel safe.
I just want to also add on that by abolishing the system itself, you're not teaching students anything. You're not teaching students contributing to microaggressions on campus anything. You're just forcing it all to go underground. And we're here to teach our students something. We're here to make sure they're held accountable, and we're doing that in ways by having people outside of Greek life be on the Greek life board. And that's one way that we're going to create more change because we want their voices to be heard and we want them to be able to come up with solutions with these people.
Thank you so much, guys, for stopping by. We really appreciate it. How can folks get in touch with you and be a part of it?
Yeah, so my phone number is actually in the link in our bio at Kyle Safal 2022. So you can shoot me a text at any time. I don't know if you've been seeing us airdrop things around campus, just kind of running around with the speaker, just stuff like that. So, just stuff like that. That's definitely the best way to get in touch with us at Kyle Safal 2022.
Cool. Best of luck to you boys in this election, and I hope everything works out well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
taking
Coming
the
in.
time out. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Our last of the candidates is journalism junior Hannah Woodworth and public policy and economics sophomore Navia Krishnan, who cannot be in attendance due to a class conflict. Hannah, thank you so much for joining. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. It's really great to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. It's been an interesting conversation with some of the candidates. And you two have seemed to have immense experience from political campaigns and speech and debate as early as high school to currently holding high noteworthy positions in the student government. And yet an argument could also be made against your ticket for representing the quote unquote establishment. In what ways may or may not these claims be valid?
I always giggle when people claim that we are the establishment candidates. I've had one full semester in student government in my life. I joined student government this year, and my reason for running is because I've seen a lot of flaws within the system. So I think that we are the establishment candidates relative to the other candidates who are coming with no student government background at all. However, I would personally not consider myself the establishment because I'm purely running because I saw the problems within the system, and so is Nivea. Nivea is only a sophomore, and she's running to be student body vice president. So that's really our motive for why we're here. And I would say that those claims are rather unfounded because, again, I've only been in student government for one full semester.
Definitely. That is very interesting for you to respond to. Now, you and Krishnan are the only two quote-unquote legitimate candidates on the ballot in contrast to your opponents who, as you said, are actually write-ins. Many have expressed disapproval and anger towards the USG, with one of your opponents daring to ask why the student body should vote for candidates who are a part of the system that hasn't advocated for them this entire time. For those that have understandable concerns, why should they vote for you over the others?
We ran when despite we followed the rules. We submitted our candidacy December, I believe it was 18th, when it was fully publicized for anybody was able to file that sort of candidacy. And our former opponent, Weston and Erica, who have no connection to USG at all, also filed by that predetermined deadline that was created by a completely independent, nonpartisan elections commission. So the fact that there was able to be a set of candidates that were able to apply having no sort of current relationship with USG, I think that goes to show that it was equally accessible for anybody who wanted to, regardless of their proximity to our student government at the time. So I would say that we, as always, deter to the Elections Commission with all sort of jurisdiction for whether or not what rules and how the actual election system will operate and who is actually on the ballot.
Okay, thank you so much. Before we get out of here, how can folks get in touch with you and keep in touch?
Absolutely. You can find us on Instagram at HannahNivia2022. We respond to all of our DMs. And you can find us on our website as well, HannahNivia2022. We have a volunteer form there if you want to get involved. Or actually, that's it. Those are the two ways you can get in touch with us. We're also tabling. We have been for the past couple of days, so you can find us on campus.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everything and coming in, Hannah. We really appreciate it. Best of luck to you and Nivea for the campaign, and we hope to see you guys around.
Thank you so much, y'all. This has been great.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that wraps up our special segment on the USC undergraduate student government. Thank you so much to the USG presidential candidates. We had Rachel Lee and Colin Colson, Kyle Valdez and Sefil Menji, and Hannah Woodworth and Nevea Krishnan.
Voting ends tomorrow, February 25th at 11:59 p.m. You can vote for your favorite candidates on the USG website at websites.usc.edu or at voting booths located throughout campus. This show was produced by Yuki Leong and Jeffrey Lee.
Fernando Cienfuegos is our technical operator, and Derek Renfro composed our theme music. We are also streaming live on KXSC. Follow KXSC at kxsc.org/listen. And on YouTube at Annenberg Radio News. From all of us at Annenberg Radio, we'll see you next week.